That's why inflation is what it is. We can't legally spend that money on anything else but what he told us we could spend it on. So, and that's true of most of our funds. County budget is much larger than the 50-some million dollars in general fund. More or less, it's what, about 135 million. Most of that money, we can't just move it to other places. I think I explained that last meeting, that we have different pots of money. Legally, we cannot take money from this pot and put it in that pot. It's the law. We don't have to like the law, but it is the law. I'll repeat myself in saying that, because I've said it many times, I've said it on air, I've said it all over the place over the years, that how we fund government in Michigan, local government in particular, is difficult, challenging, and I have used the word broken, because back in 1994, and I was working in local government at the time, in management, so I remember it very well. They passed Proposal A, and every year 5% of inflation, lesser of the two. And you've seen, as Commissioner Duckham pointed out, that our expenditures haven't really been going up because we don't have the money for them to go up. We've been, cutting for years on our budget. So it's not a simple proposition. It does. County government does not operate like our household budget. I wish it did. It would be a lot easier, a lot less strings. So we don't have all this extra money people like to think we do. We do not.
Commissioner Pulaski has a question.
Sure, by all means.
I'd be very curious to know where the $11 million figure for a parking lot came from. That sounds like the beginning of an urban myth that should be dispelled as quickly as we possibly can.
Well,
The work that's being done out there, isn't that part of the overall county energy plan to energize the courthouse and the Wesley Street Jail? And that's where the wells to gather the energy are coming from, is from underneath the area that is currently a parking lot.
that's correct. That money, that IFT money and so forth, we're drilling wells to put in geothermal, which will benefit the county, therefore its residents, for the next 50 years. Those wells are 50-year wells. And we're getting to do it with somebody else's money, to be frank. I mean, how do we say no to that? With that said, let's see, what other questions were out there? Questions of float and things like that, and I think I explained that to some degree there. People have said, well, just freeze hiring across the board. And again, as I indicated earlier, it's easy said, it's hard to do. If key people leave, you need to replace them. If IT people leave, almost any of them, we need to replace them. We run very tight. We've been reducing for years, which is evidenced by our budget. If you're not increasing your expenditures, you're technically reducing, because every year health insurance goes up and wages go up. And if people can say, well, don't give pay increases. You think we have a turnover problem now, don't give pay increases and see how that goes. Those people who have options, meaning your better people, they'll leave. And what's left is the people who, for whatever reason, can't leave, their family or whatever the case may be, they just be unhappy. And a bunch of 700 unhappy employees is not how we want to operate our county. Be assured it would be a bad day for everyone and our residents. We have to not do that. And our board has always been frugal to be, they've always said, we don't want to be the highest paid. We can't afford it. I agree. But we can't afford to be the lowest paid either. We need to try to stay competitive in the marketplace or we lose our people. I have had IT people walk down the street to consumers and get a $25,000 raise to do the same job. We struggle with a lot of those kind of things. And our people are very capable and therefore they are very mobile. So, and it's true of law enforcement too. Why the millage failed, I do not know. I have heard from the audience here that that it passed in places where they already have law enforcement, where they already have a law enforcement millage. That's very true. You know, I can theorize, out-county folks don't see or feel the crime. When you live out county, there's not a whole lot going on out there. So maybe they feel they don't need more additional law enforcement. People who live closer into the urban area see it, feel it more, and therefore are willing to pay for it and sometimes pay double because clearly they voted for it. The answer, we're not sure. I can tell you this, though. We will have to replace the jail. Not today, because people voted no. But we will have to replace it. It is over 70 years old, and as you know, everything in this world wears out. So we will have to replace it. How we pay for it, I can tell you, like, looking at the budget we have today and the budget I foresee in the near future, isn't going to pay for it. It's going to take additional dollars, whether those are state or federal dollars or raised locally. I'm not sure the answer. But in 2 years, we have a governor's race. If the board so chose, we could put on a millage for something. We'll see. But in the meantime, we have 2 years to deal with. And I say 2 years because it costs a whole lot of money. It's upwards of $100,000 to run an election. So you don't want to do it just for one item. You want to do it when you have multiple issues. I have had, I was at Township Supervisors meeting a couple weeks ago with the two supervisors all get together and talk. I can tell you this, at least one of those supervisors said to me point blank, and he said it openly, that if the county reduces law enforcement budget, that he is going to talk to his people about increasing his budget to pay for some law enforcement. So I know some townships are already thinking that way, that perhaps we need to do something more on locally, and this was an out-county township, I might add. Maybe that's where it is. Maybe that's what the people need. I'm not sure what the answer is. But like I say, there's no easy answers. And of course, one township has stepped up and created their own department. I too would thought that it would be more economical to contract with the sheriff, but it's not our decision. That's a local decision. And the reason people have local law enforcement is because locally they decided we want a level of service above what is already there. That's why they vote for millages locally and have additional law enforcement, even if it's only for an 8-hour shift in a 24-hour period. That's their choice. We have looked at this budget long and hard for a long time. We've known this was coming. We've been working on it. And as you've seen the chart, it is straight up in your face that, almost $15 million is the sheriff's department. You look at those other lines, there's not a lot of money there. There's not a lot of people there. There's not a lot of way to make cuts there. That's why we are where we are as far as looking at making a reduction. Can we spend reserves? Yes, we can. I've said it many times. But you're kicking the can down the road. Unless something changes, like a millage passes, we did kick the can down the road for 2 years. Remember the first millage we ran? It failed. Ran a second. It failed. We went 2 years on reserves, and it failed a third time. Do we go another 2 years on reserves? That's this board's decision to make. Can we? Yes. Will it hurt? Yes. Will we do less capital improvement projects? Yes. What does that mean? Well, all of our buildings are old. The jail's not the oldest building that we have, to be honest. It is what it is. This building here was built in the, was it 30s? 1929, thank you. So every time we do a project, it costs a lot of money to fix and maintain. It is what it is. It's the buildings we have. It's still cheaper to fix these buildings than to try to build something new. We don't have the money for it. So, like I say, if we do use reserves, that's less money that we have available to fix other things that need to be fixed. We have a fire escape on the back of this building that the fire marshal tells me has to be redone. It's not currently what it should be, I'll say it that way. So, okay, I guess we'll have to find the money to fix it. It's just that simple. There's always those kind of needs. As for my recommendation and so forth, I have not, again, for me, I haven't changed my position. I've looked at this long and hard, and what are the implications of changing things? I mean, I'm going to reduce, no matter what we reduce, it hurts. I reduce friend of the court, it hurts. And we know who it hurts, a lot of young children. I mean, you reduce law enforcement, it hurts. That's less people out there. I mean, there's all those decisions to be made. But from my perspective, again, looked at it long and hard, and I don't want to get too long-winded here, but I'm still recommending the same, that we reduce the sheriff's budget by $900,000, the court's budget by $300,000, and the drain commissioner by $100,000. The sheriff's budget, he, as has been indicated by Commissioner, he controls his budget. He will decide what he will reduce or not reduce to meet that obligation there. But I don't see a way around it. There is no easy answers. I wish there was. I'm done, sir.
Commissioner Duckham.
Yeah, I'd like to address maybe why the millage did not pass. And I'm not a wordsmith, so I'll get tongue tangled here a little bit probably. But the original millage that expired had the bond payments for the Chandler Road Jail in it, plus the operating millage of the Chandler Road Jail. Okay, the first millage to come out in '22 to increase it and renew it also had jail operation millage in it for a new jail, but also the operation of that jail. We did a committee on the jail committee before the last millage, and we trimmed it way down, and we just decided we'll just go for operational millage and just have to get by with the old jail until then. And that failed. So you see, with the millage, we've lost the operational part of the sheriff's department. His millage went down, his budget went down. Hindsight, we should have taken, well, the money the sheriff gets, he can use it how he wishes. But he is mandated by the Constitution to provide a jail and operate a jail. So the only place he could really cut was road patrol, in my eyes anyhow. And when this last millage that just got defeated went down, I'm going to go with Supervisor Weimer. It had the word jail in it. In hindsight, we all have hindsight, that millage probably should have said road patrol millage, and it probably would have passed. Get the word jail out of there. People said that we voted on it too many times. And it truly was going to, if it passed, was going to go towards jail or the sheriff's operations, but it probably would have been plugged into road patrol. And I think people would support a road patrol millage. So go back in hindsight, it's crystal clear. Maybe we made a mistake. That's my opinion. We didn't make a mistake running the millage. Maybe we put the wrong label on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Kennedy.
My comments, I'm ready to get into the nuts and bolts. Are we ready to go?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to address these questions to the administrator before I make any motions. The term float's been tossed around. I use the word attrition. I totally respect your opinion that certain positions, you can't just let them go unfilled. But I feel I've identified a few spots that can help alleviate some of the burden to the sheriff, in addition to your recommendations. I believe in that budget currently, there was a part-time employee, perhaps a full-time employee, up in the administration office who's since left. I realize it would make it difficult on you because there wouldn't be someone there manning the phones. Someone else would have to do that. That's up there. But I'm wondering how much that dollar amount would be.
That's about 50,000 probably.
50,000?
Depends on who, if you hire someone, it depends on if they have benefits and different things. That's the lowest paid position up there.
Okay. In addition, with your recommendation, the drain commissioner is currently operating with what he operated last year. Removing $100,000 would just not be hiring the engineer that he was requesting, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. In addition to that, we currently have the enterprise group that we're roughly giving $100,000 to for economic development annually. Am I correct in that?
Not roughly, we give them $100,000.
Okay. And we've identified that you had made mention in a memo to us that facilities and IT could potentially each lose a position at $135,000 savings. Are those positions currently filled, or are they, as you say, floating?
Floating. Oh,
Are they empty? Are they vacant?
I'd have to check. They could be vacant. I'm not sure because I know every time something's vacant, a position's vacant, they advertise it. So it may or may not have been filled by now. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, those two lowest positions there, that's what that would save.
Okay. Then in addition to that, we've identified that the sheriff is running below his budget and has been consistently. Would it be possible, were we to make all these cuts that I just suggested in addition to the ones you said, which those ones I've just added to it would reduce the ask of the sheriff even further, would it be possible that the sheriff would stay staffed at what he's currently at, and as applicants came, he could come to the board each time and ask for a budget amendment to hire an officer as they come? Is that legal? Can we do that?
That is correct. We, from time to time, have need to change FTE counts and create new positions, and we can bring it to the board anytime during the year. And we do a budget adjustment, assuming we have the money. Those, as you've described thus far, you're looking at reserves.
Personally speaking, I think that would be the most fiscally responsible thing to do. And of course, you know, the courts, in your suggestion, that gets us there. So I don't know if I should go line by line or make a total motion. My first motion would be to reduce the administration position budget item by $50,000.
Do we have discussion?
The motion is to reduce the administrator's budget by $50,000.
We have discussion.
I apologize, I missed who supported that.
Bill
Duckham.
Duckham.
Thank you.
Discussion is we currently are doing without that position filled right now, so we bite the bullet and gain $50,000 to go towards the sheriff's
Can
road
you
patrol.
wait till Phil finishes talking? Administrator Overton.
My comment there would be for any and all of your recommendations, there are consequences to every action that we take. Then this particular case, currently we have an employee up there who is doing her job as well as this other person's job. She had a full-time job before this. It's okay to ask employees to step it up and carry the load, the extra weight, if you will, for a time. That's perfectly reasonable. Well, it happens all the time. Someone leaves, everyone pulls together and steps up and carries that. It's not necessarily okay to say that that new burden and weight is going to be on you indefinitely. Because what ultimately happens is you burn out good people and they find other places to work. It's just that simple. The person who left, she left for a better job, to be straight up about it, and good for her. But in the meantime, we have an employee who's carrying both those buckets right now.
I would make that motion then contingent upon refilling that position.
Wait, we have a motion and support on the floor. Are you attempting to amend the motion?
I thought was doing discussion.
Well, actually, Commissioner Kennedy made a motion.
Okay, and I supported it.
Yep, that's where we're at. So
Okay.
now you're at making an amendment.
Yes, I'll make an amendment. That we temporarily eliminate that job. If we find out that it can't be done, we rehire and borrow out of the fund reserve. And it just be line by line here. If we have to have it, we have to have it, but we have to have road patrol too. So, in my eyes, we have to have road patrol at night too. So we're gonna eliminate or draw down from the fund balance, I guess, a little bit, or reserves, whichever we wanna call it. That'd be my thought.
Commissioner Kennedy, speak to your motion.
You don't need to make that amendment. You can do that regardless.
No, your amendment is eliminating a position, sir.
My motion
Right.
is amendment, I'm saying. You don't really need to do that because we can do that.
So if we're down an FTE, that means the administrator would have to come back to the Board of Commissioners to ask for a new FTE.
Is the amendment accepted by the original maker, or was the amendment?
There was no amendment at this time. There was a comment and conversation to the amendment, but there was no amendment made.
Commissioner Duckham, I respectfully ask you to withdraw your amendment.
We will do that. Thank you. I still support yours.
Any more comments to the motion? Madam Clerk, are you ready to post the vote?
Yes. Passes 7-2.
Do I still have the floor, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Kennedy.
Thank you. Next motion I would propose would be to reduce the drain commissioner proposed budget by $100,000.
Support that.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Commissioner Snell,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My math shows that the cut should be 90,000, or else we're cutting his current budget by 10,000. Is that the will of the board there?
That wasn't, that's not my understanding, Cecilia. Did we add 100,000 to the drain commissioner's budget?
Yes, we did.
So it's 100,000.
it's 100,000. Commissioner Bear, you had your hand up?
Thank you. In the expanded write-up that the chair had shared with us, it states that the drain commissioner currently has 3 full-time employees. I don't believe that's correct. And cutting the drain commissioner's budget by 100,000, that's cutting 30% of his total budget. That's too big of a cut. He needs that money so he can bring on a staff person. A year ago, $50,000 was taken out of his budget and given to Department of Transportation. Drain Commissioner didn't support it, head of Department of Transportation didn't support it. The idea was that the Drain Commissioner, with $50,000 taken out of his budget and put in JDOT's budget, the Drain Commissioner could use the JDOT, the transportation engineers, to assist with his project. JDOT this time said, we don't have the people to spare. So no, 50,000 was taken from him, but it really wasn't spent. And he just lost that money. So we've taken 50,000 from him a year or two ago. We can have someone else politically run as a candidate for drain commissioner. would they be knowledgeable? Would they be trained? Would they have some history? That would be the point of having an employee hired in the drain commissioner's department. So that person could learn from the current drain commissioner a lot of the history, how the department runs, and then that person would then be qualified in the future to run politically for that position. If we don't train anybody, to me, it's highly unlikely any person that's going to say, I want to run for that drain commissioner office is really going to be qualified. They're certainly going to be up to speed. So I don't like this motion. Won't support it.
Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just for my understanding, if I remember correctly, the $100,000 for the drain commissioner's office is for a position that is currently unfilled, correct? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing further.
Commissioner Kennedy?
I would add that it's not only not filled, it's never existed. So this department will still be operating the same way it has for years. Would it be ideal to add this position and groom them, and hopefully they could win an election? Yes. Is public safety more important? In my view, yes. So.
Okay, we have a motion and support for removal of $100,000 from the drain commissioner's budget. Madam Clerk, are you ready to post the vote?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Passes 8-1.
Still the floor, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Thank you. The next item is the enterprise group. I have a question for the administrator. Can that amount be reduced, or is that the minimum that we can give to be part of their services?
No, there is no minimum that we can give. It's historically what we've been giving. I think we've been giving that amount for 10 years or more. Yeah, at least 10, 13, some odd years. We've never increased it. So here's the answer to that.
Make a motion to reduce the amount to the enterprise group to $50,000. $50,000. Yes.
I'll support that.
We have a motion and support. I'll speak to this.
Yeah.
The Enterprise Group is an organization that helps us maintain and work with 3 of our largest townships. They maintain and work with us with the Mackey facility and TAC facility. They administer and oversee our Brownfield Authority. They also manage the EDC for us, which is the loans that go out to the private sector to open businesses in Jackson. They've assisted us with all different kinds of projects, whether it be the creation of the industrial park in Blackman Township, the maintenance of the BSAF facility, and the creation of the Smart Park, going back, working with us on the airport and helping us secure over $100 million on the airport property to be able to do all the projects we did out there for the realignment of the runways. They've assisted us in maintaining businesses such as Technique, Mackey, TAC, and other businesses. They've worked with us to help us clean up areas, anything from the old Spartan facility on Ganson Street to marketing and managing different properties for us. Do they look like they're doing something? Probably not, because you don't see them out there in front knocking on doors and waving their arms at us. What they're doing is they're providing a service of economic development that generates homes, which generates people to move to Jackson County, which has allowed us to keep our population above 160,000 for the last 20 years. It has also maintained, whether we want them to or not, they helped us take down the Green Monster, the Acme building next to the Keeley Park. They helped us clean up and remove the hotel here at 1 Jackson Square. They helped us demolish and eliminate the Consumers Energy property on Michigan Avenue and help on the revitalization of all of Jackson County. They're a needed resource, and paying $100,000 a year for that service is very highly advantageous to Jackson County, and I will speak against this, and I will be voting no on this proposal. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if we were to cut from the enterprise group $50,000, if I'm understanding correctly, we then would, as a county, would have to do that work, and it would probably cost us over $50,000 to replace that work. Is that a good estimate?
I would tell you that, I don't know the answer directly to that, but I would tell you that we could not hire one person to do economic development in the county for $100,000. That's a highly prized skill set, and they're expensive.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For those reasons that were previously stated, I also will be voting no on this motion.
Commissioner Willis?
So a question for the administrator as well. You explained to us that on this investment of $100,000, our return is about 900%.
Correct, in a sense that their budget, the EG budget, is close to $1 million. So our $100,000 helps leverage additional $900,000. That's community investment. So a lot of these businesses in our community see the value in economic development, see the value that EG brings, and they contribute money to their budget.
So cutting this to 50 does what?
Well, cutting it to 50 just reduces their budget by $50,000. What that does to them, I can't necessarily speak directly, but I would tell you that we're getting a deal already.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Duckham, then Commissioner Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It would be a 5% reduction in economic development's budget. We're asking more from some of our own staffing. I know they've helped us in the past, but this is kind of part of our problem. When we bring a new business to Jackson County, manufacturing business, I don't think we gain, Mike can straighten me out on this, I don't think we gain much because we give them like a 20-year big tax deduction or abatement. So we don't make money on the new project. We need homes and we need buildings that are built by the locals where when they build a new building, we get more tax revenue. And to get these jobs here, I don't think, the enterprise group, I think that we end up waiving the taxes. And I might submit that we can't hire, the businesses in town right now can't hire people anyhow. People don't, if they want to work, they're already working. So we build a new factory in town that the enterprise group brings in and employs 200 people, we can't fill them. We can't fill the job. They may outbid the local guys as far as wages and hours, but then we're hurting our own local businesses by driving up making the wages inflationary. So they've helped us. I don't want to go away from them, but I will support a 5% reduction in what we donate to them.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. There is no doubt that the enterprise group is important. I got a chance to meet with the director to educate me on what they do, and they're essentially recruiting new business and retaining the businesses that we have here and looking for ways to entice them, whether that's through tax incentives or just making it easier to make the transition, zoning with townships, all of that. However, in regards to what Commissioner Willis and Commissioner Williams brought up, if you're talking about a return on investment, there's no direct correlation to it. They're still going to be around. Yes, their budget's going to reduce by $50,000, but you just heard that their total budget countywide is $1 million. So I think it's reasonable. It's not abandoning them, but we're in tough times here. And to me, $50,000 it's almost it's half of an officer. So That's, in my opinion, these are the types of cuts we got to make to get where we need to be to keep our community safe.
Commissioner Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've worked with the Enterprise Group for 8 years and found them to be very competent, very professional, and able to get the projects done. I think this would be a bad cut to them, and I can't support that.
Last comment from Administrator Overton, and then we'll vote.
Just response to Commissioner Duckham had asked the question more or less. When a new business comes to town, they may or may not receive tax incentives. It depends. Say they do, but they bring ultimately they bring employees, and those employees live somewhere, and that's more people buying things at restaurants and from the businesses in town, and ideally moving into our community. And there's, I think Commissioner or Chairman Shotwell said, our population hasn't reduced compared to most of the state. It has. Most of the state's been losing population, and it's attributed to those type of efforts. As to again, return on investment, and in regard to what'd you say? You said there's additional employees. We can't fill the jobs we have now, and other employers may not want to be a part of that. I would answer that with saying that the $900,000, that the additional $900,000 they receive annually comes from those other employers. Those other employers, while they recognize that when you bring in a new business, it might be a direct competition to their labor, and therefore potentially even drive up wages. They recognize the value and such, and will contribute to it regardless of that. So there is value there, or they wouldn't. Private sector would not contribute the money they contribute if there wasn't value.
Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, let's vote.
Motion fails. 4 yea, 5 nay. 4 to 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next is what was addressed in the memo from the administrator to commissioners about facilities and IT. Is that $135,000 broken up by department? Do you know the specific amount to each by removing a position from each?
I do not know off the top of my head, but that's what collectively it added up to. And those numbers I received from them.
I would make a motion to reduce facilities and IT's budget by $135,000. $135,000 total collectively between the two departments.
It'll be one employee each.
It'll be one employee each, Tony. It'll be one employee each from each department. He doesn't have the exact breakdown of what that is. He has the total.
Yes. Comments? Go ahead, John.
Yes, sir. Again, quick question is, are these jobs that are currently filled, are these vacancies also?
Actually, I don't know the answer to that. If whether they've hired somebody to fill that or not, I'm not sure. Where is he? Oh, we have one vacancy, and is it the right vacancy? Is it the low vacant? Well, we aren't going to answer that now, but clearly I see facilities director shaking his head that he has a vacancy, and I'm not sure. IT's not here, but it would if do they? Oh, I'm looking over here at IT. I forgot. You're hiding behind those monitors. So yes, it sounds like they're vacant right now, current vacancy. And I think I've already indicated earlier what implications are for such things.
Commissioner Duckham.
Yes, I do know that IT gave us a presentation several months ago. He's not fully up to staff, but he's got enough people there working that it's comfortable there now. I hate to take that away from him, but we're in painful times, and IT people are hard to find. I have mixed feelings.
I guess my question is to the administrator, if we remove an IT person, what does that do to technology within the sheriff's department?
Well, it's no different in his department than all of our departments. So really what happens if you're short on IT help, when someone makes a service call, so their computer doesn't work, their laptop, what have you, and as I think you know, when our computers and our technology doesn't work, we kind of come to a stop. It just delays the response time is really what it is, because they have basically a to-do list, and when you have a problem, you type it in, and boom, you hit into the queue, and then they go down that list, resolving those issues as they go around the county. So we have what do we have? A dozen IT people for 700 plus computers, not to mention all the cameras and other things that they maintain. So they're busy people, and they're a specialized workforce. They have a skill set that the whole world needs IT, so they can go anywhere and get a job.
Any further comments? Let's vote. Commissioner Walls, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, I see we have our facilities manager here as well, and we need still the work to be performed on the jail facilities as we go. And how big of a delay do we think that's gonna cause getting some of those routine maintenance things done, not only in our jail facility, but in these other buildings as well?
Mike?
Well, it's hard to say, but all I can really say is it will take us longer to respond to needs, be that a toilet overflowing or whatever the case may be. It just takes longer. It's not that they can't do it, and they will continue to do it. Again, it's just a delay in service delivery because there's one less person running around doing it. That's really what it comes down to. I don't anticipate it would be the higher end specialized people we have. It'd probably be the people that are on the lower end of our pay scale would be my guess for the facility position.
Further questions? Shall we vote?
Motion passes 6 yea, 3 nay.
I still have the floor, Mr. Commissioner Bear.
Commissioner Kennedy still has the floor, sir. Commissioner Kennedy still has the floor.
May I have a moment?
Commissioner Kennedy, do you yield the floor?
I have one more motion to make, and then I'll yield, okay? All right, you're welcome. The last item I have in front of me is staff's recommendation. I don't know if Mike or Deborah would be better to address it, but it's the courts. The recommendation is $300,000. I believe through analysis, you've seen a reduction in cases. Am I correct? Over the course of 5 years.
Let me lead off a little bit on that, and then I'll let Deborah answer there. The court's caseload over the last, I'm not sure, Deborah can know the years, 10 years, has been 48%, I believe, so it's reduced by half almost. The court did take a $400,000 reduction last year, and they stepped up and did what needed to be done. Do I believe there's more that they can do? Yes, I do. I would also add that I've been told that their revenue has gone up somewhat this year. So what I'm looking at there is a combination. So if their revenue is up 100,000, they only need to cut 2. If it's up 200, they cut 1. Collectively, I need $300,000 to balance the budget, and that was my recommendation. Deborah can add to whatever she feels appropriate.
Just confirming, yes, they're over the course of 7 years. Excuse me. Over the course of 7 years, not including 2024, their caseload is down approximately 48%. There have been some indications this year that they have stabilized or increased slightly in certain case types, according to the court administrator in his presentation here a couple months ago. After reviewing some line items within their budget, I do believe there is still some room to cut, so that extra 100,000 I do believe is doable, even minimal touching staff. But with that extra 200,000 of their revenue that they are up this year, that's a collections. That may be reflective of either the caseload stabilizing or better collections, improved collections. I'm not sure what that's a direct correlation to, but yes, I would agree with the 300,000.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to reduce the court's annual budget by 300,000.
We have a motion and support. I guess I'm going to ask for clarification from Commissioner Kennedy. If they increase their revenue by 200,000, do you accept that as part of that?
Yes.
Okay, so everyone understands that the net savings will be whether either increased revenue or reductions will be $300,000. We have a motion and support. Commissioner Duckham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I could agree with that, but I think it needs to be done after the fact. Whatever, if they make a surplus cut this year, we give them some credit for that next year, rather than just assume the collections will always be there. If you understand what I mean, give them credit for it. But
Our budgetary process is year to year, Commissioner Duckham, so you'll be visiting this again next fall.
okay, that's what I'm saying. I'd support the 300,000, but it didn't give them some credit for collecting, but that is their job. And if they collected a surplus like they have this year, then we'll adjust their budget upward next year when we have the money. Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing nor hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you post the vote?
It is posted. Motion passes 8-1.
Commissioner Kennedy, have you finished?
Almost. So the running cuts, if everybody's hopefully been keeping the tally, that reduces our budget so far by $585,000 of the needed amount. I yield my time.
Commissioner Bear.
Sorry, I drank too much coffee this morning. I can make a motion for 5-minute recess.
Support.
Board of Commissioners study session back to order. Vice Chairman Corey Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I would politely request that Under Sheriff Simpson approach, speak to the cuts that we've made thus far, and the position that would put the Sheriff's Department in as it currently operates.
Good morning, Commissioners. I certainly applaud the efforts of making some tough decisions, and that number brings us down to, at least my math, is 615,000 from 900,000. Obviously, we still have some operational decisions to make with $615,000 cuts, but this does help us. It does help us. We have positions that are vacant. We have some small capital that we can potentially cut as well, which will give us a better outlook on providing services for Jackson County. Again, we have our operations meeting tomorrow based on the number that we have to work with today. But this does put us in a better light, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
So,
Yes, Mr. Duckham.
Commissioner Duckham?
Does this mean if we can make this work, we're gonna have our nighttime road patrol again? Or
And
we'll
again-
continue it, I mean?
And again, from an operations standpoint, it's still $615,000. Again, with some small capital, each deputy, road deputy, is about $84,023.99. So there's still a reduction that we will look at. From an operations standpoint, we will meet as a command staff tomorrow to see what we can do to ensure that we can keep our staffing the way it is to provide a night service as well as day patrol as well. But
Thank you.
I can't give you that 100% until
I
we meet
understand.
collectively.
to
I
be,
understand, thank you.
yeah, to be clear, though, this proposed amount would not result in the elimination of any officers. Am I correct, at least in that?
Physical persons, no.
Okay.
Vacancies, yes.
Okay, before I make this motion, I want this to be clear that as you get applicants and you get an opportunity to staff to the recommended level, I would encourage you to come to the board and we can make budget amendments out of our general fund reserves should we deem it necessary. So I want you to know this isn't cold cut done with, but I feel that making any further cuts to departments with positions that are not currently filled could be detrimental to something we don't have to do.
Right.
So with that being said, I'd make a motion that the $615,000 be reduced from the Jackson County Sheriff's budget.
Support?
Questions to the motion? Commissioner Bear?
I don't know if you're going around the room. I haven't had my turn to say where I think monies should be cut. I'm going to make a motion for another $150,000 cut, and that also can go to the sheriff's budget. So this motion, I think, is a little premature. Let's see what other commissioners have to bring forward as cuts, and then let's make this motion when we have the total dollar amount. That would be my request.
We have a motion and support on the floor. If enough people vote against this, then we will proceed in that way. If not, you can speak after this motion, sir. Any questions to the motion?
So
Commissioner Bear?
could you repeat the motion for me so I understand what it's doing?
Vice Chairman Kennedy?
The motion is reducing it by $615,000. By doing that, it keeps the Sheriff's Department staffed at where it's currently at.
Any comments to the motion? Madam Clerk, could you post the vote?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Motion passes 8-1.
Commissioner Kennedy, you still have the floor. Is there anything else, sir?
Nope, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Bear, you had something you'd wanted to say?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. From our administrator's November 8 Commissioner update, he had expanded a lot of verbiage on different departments. Item landfill. Says required to maintain the landfill. Then if you go to facilities, it says facilities operates and maintains the county landfills. Well, we don't need two budgets providing the same service. The administrator's write-up also said that we can cut the,
The budget's not adopted.
currently has $100,000. I'm sorry, wrong spot. Not required to spend $100,000 on household hazardous waste and tire collection. So since we don't have to spend that $100,000 and we got a duplicate of services, I make a motion that we cut $150,000 from the landfill budget.
I believe your motion dies for lack of support, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I'm in order, and the motion, I understand the motion has failed, so if I'm out of order, please correct me, but is there a recommendation from administration on Commissioner Bear's motion? I'm a little late on the draw, I apologize.
The difficulty with doing anything with the landfill, it involves Eagle and the DEQ, and they have a requirement that we keep the money there. We have begun amortizing that money down. The Board of Public Works oversees that particular budget, and it is working within the constraints of the landfills at this time and the proper disposal of current leachate that passes through the landfill and has to be treated and then transported and disposed of. And right at the moment, we're still in discussions with DEQ, Departments of Corrections, and Eagle about who actually owns the landfill and who has proprietary rights to being able to put a cleaning system on the property.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that
So
being
that'll
said-
be an ongoing issue that this board will be dealing with, as it has in the past, in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that being said, I see that they would not be wise to make cuts to that area. Thank you.
Did you have another item, Commissioner Bear?
No, I could go. I'll just go on the roll.
We're now going to move on to item 6, Facilities North Lawn Building, Tuck Pointing, Masonry Repairs, Administrator Controller Overton.
Take it away.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, I'm Pat Feekins, Director of Facilities. We have two ARPA-funded projects. The first is the North Lawn Tuck Pointing. This was brought to bid. We had 4 contractors come in with Ram Construction coming in at $48,926.46. The last time, the building was built in 1935, and the last time tuck pointing was done was in 2011.
Let's just go to committee.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to direct it to committee.
So moved.
Support. Any questions?
Comment?
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to state this, just for the public's is aware that these dollars that we're looking at, one will go through our normal voting process, but these are ARPA dollars, so that's not any general fund dollars you can use for this. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing further.
Commissioner Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've reviewed the drawings prepared by SME. I would direct your attention to detail 7 on page A41. The detail is not adequate to prevent water from getting back into the masonry and re-causing the same problems you're trying to correct. When you're putting flashing on a lintel, this detail is inadequate because the flashing has to come over the front of the lintel and project down, so water drips downward and doesn't migrate back in along the flashing and the steel lintel. I see no detail provided in this set of documents for what is called folding an end dam in the flashing. And without a proper end dam in the flashing, water that comes down onto the flashing is just going to migrate to the side and get into the brick and cause the same problems that you're experiencing now. So I would suggest you get back with SME and get some clarification, some improvements to detail 7 on page A41. It's not adequate.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and support to send this to the committee and then the full board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, duly carried. And please recognize comments from Commissioner Baird.
The next ARPA project that we have is, would be doing the north side of the courthouse, the tuck pointing. Currently, right now, Davenport Restoration is there working on the south side. We'd like to use the remaining ARPA funding to do the north side. Davenport's bid is still the lowest at $134,000.
Entertain a motion to direct this to committee.
So moved.
We have a motion and support. Commissioner Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have reviewed these drawings also, and let me bring up a detail number here. You are removing guardrails to do some of this masonry repair. Guardrails are placed to keep people from falling off of elevated floor areas. So you have to remove the guardrail to repair the masonry where the guardrail is attached. But during that time, you need a temporary guardrail to keep people from falling and being injured. I see nothing in here about putting in temporary guardrails, temporary fall protection during the time that the primary guardrail is removed. It's going to be removed, it's going to be taken back to a shop, going to be cleaned, reconditioned. So the guardrail is going to be missing for a extended period of time. Some form of alternate fall protection needs to be put on there.
Okay.
As this project is presented, you're exposing the county to a huge liability, somebody falling off these places. Also, the same detail, here it's detail 11 on drawing A41, the same flashing detail, same inadequacies. So I think you need to have these addressed before this comes for final approval.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other commissioner comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, duly carried. We've arrived at public comment, second time. Public comment guidelines, each individual will state their name. You have 2 minutes to address the board. You may only address the board once under this public comment opportunity. You may not yield your time to others. Board members will not debate nor answer questions at this time. Second public comment.
Amy Hawkins, Pulaski Township. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for your work in scrutinizing the budget.
My question, all of you have my contact information. I understand you can't answer questions here, but I would like to know why is it the rest of the board, Mr. Bear, thank you for your attempts to scrutinize. Why is it the rest of the commissioners did not propose cuts? I would appreciate an answer. Thank you.
Rosemary Tanner, the City of Jackson. Thank you. I knew you guys could do it when you set your minds to it. And congratulations, 600,000 is better than 900,000.
Any other public comment?
James Minnick, Columbia Township. I have been witness to a lot of boring meetings, boring study sessions, boring subcommittee meetings, and I want to say that I am very, very proud to sit in the peanut gallery and watch this exercise in the business that our county officials were elected to do, and I want to thank all of you, especially my representative, Phil Duckham. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Public comment is now closed. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank my colleagues today for analyzing everything and making these tough decisions. I want the public to know it may seem like a great thing, but all these cuts will be felt, trust me. So I want to thank my colleagues for sure. I thank each and every one of you for considering it, because none of these decisions were easy. Thanks.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My echoes are the same. Thank you to all the commissioners who took the time to look through the budget. I know a lot of conversations and things were had. And I know for a fact that each of you, all of us, put in the work, we put in the effort to do what we can to try our best to not have to make as much cuts. And this wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy process. It hasn't been an easy process. These discussions and conversations and things started long before today. And so to finally come to this point where we can leave a little bit more comfortable, I'm appreciative of it for all the work. Again, from all of our commissioners. Thank you to administration for putting up with all of my questions as we work through this process. And of course to our finance director, thank you for all your work thus far. Thank you so much, everyone.
Commissioner Pileski.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and appreciate the chance to just comment here. I think among the comments we heard from the public is that jail and public safety are among the most important things, most fundamental things that counties do. And to rely upon a special millage to fund them is not such a good idea. We've gotten past that now. Apparently, we're not going to have a special millage to fund our most fundamental functions. And so I'm going to keep beating the drum on the need to consider a Headley override to our fundamental operating millage, which has been degraded over the years, but which would, I think, provide funds for adequate public safety and perhaps even to begin the work of getting the next jail ready for us. So I'm going to keep beating the drum. I'm going to apologize in advance for being a clanging gong. Thank you.
Commissioner Duckham, then Commissioner Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to point out that we're not the only county that has problems with staffing the sheriff department. I believe it's Eaton County. They have discontinued their road patrol because of budget shortfalls. We did like to give the administration and his team a thank you for bringing to us a pretty darn efficient and stable budget that we could work off from to to keep the police operation going. But it isn't painless, because keep in mind, we made cuts, and it just, the cuts aren't coming to the sheriff department. They're coming from several other departments or agencies, so it still wasn't fun, but we do need the sheriff, we do need the jail, we do need road patrol. Thank you much.
Commissioner Beer.
Thank you. I agree, the jail and our public safety is probably the most important item in our budget. Citizens have said it's the most important thing. Commissioner Plesky said it's the jail and the public safety is the most important thing. I believe that to be true. That's why I can't believe you've just defunded our sheriff. Now, some of you take exception to that word defunding. I don't care if you take exception to it or not. That's what you did. You can't wordsmith it and change this around to meaning something else. You defunded our sheriff. Shame on you. Y'all remind me of Kamala Harris and her movement in Minnesota to defund the police. She tried to gut the law enforcement departments there, and I see your 8 people's action as no different than trying to gut our law enforcement here in Jackson County. We've got the money. I'm just embarrassed to be part of this board. I'm kind of proud to lose again 8-1. I like being the one that voted no on your defunding of our law enforcement. From now on, every time I mention your names, I may just put Kamala Harris as your middle name. I'm done.
Commissioner Willis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank our commissioners for the job that was done today. This is my first experience as a commissioner with the shortfalls and then having to make those adjustments. We appreciate all the discussions. I appreciate Commissioners Pileski, Williams, and Snell for bearing with me as we asked a lot of questions as we move forward. We do greatly appreciate it. Appreciate the public input. For myself, I would like help from the public because to me, there's kind of a cognitive dissonance that I hear and that I see. The words that we're saying is, this is most fundamental, this is most important. But on 3 different occasions, we've presented that option to make sure we are supporting that. And we missed it on the last time by 984 votes. So I hear what we're saying, but also see what we're doing. So there's a kind of cognitive dissonance that I want to better understand. But I really appreciate the commissioners today, Vice Chairman Kennedy. One of the reasons that none of the other commissioners had to make any offers for any cuts because he prepared well, and he presented some options to us that were viable to make it happen. So we're greatly appreciative of that. Thankful for what everybody's done. Thank you to the public for working with us, and I really this experience was a learning experience for me. I look forward to communicating with the public further to find out how we're not back in the same spot again next year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope that everybody realizes that we didn't actually cut the public safety, the sheriff's budget at all. We gave them a less of an increase that they wanted, but that was fiscally responsible to do so. So I appreciate all the input that all of you gave us. I appreciate all the hard work that this board did. And, this gets kicked down the road when we look at next year's budget too. It's not much different. And as you can see, it's hard to find the dollars to cut. There's no fat in this budget. It's the leanest budget that I can imagine. And it took a lot of hard work to get to where we're at so we can run a balanced budget as required. And thank you all.
Entertain a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye. Those opposed?